Well, he's had more than 50 solo exhibits around the world. He's been knighted in his native Italy. Sophia Loren and Tina Turner are among his fans and collectors. For more than a decade now, expressionist painter Marco Sassone has called Toronto home. He's literally stepping out in his latest show, all part of a journey that began half a century ago in Florence. Debbie Lettle-Kwan has his story.
For Marco Sassone, it's all about the journey. At 73, he's captured a lifetime on canvas.
And I can see I have the pen in my hand, see?
The son of an Italian architect, he started out following in his father's footsteps.
I did 3 years. I lasted 3 years. But after that, I needed to get out with the surprise of the entire family, of course. And paint was my thing. But the perspective remained with me because I began to do the perspective in cities in Europe, Florence especially.
There, Sassone flourished, selling his early works to tourists.
This is me during the flood of Florence.
The Great Flood, though, of 1966 changed everything.
It reached 18 feet.
And you're in line for what?
I'm in line for food and water, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. Immediately the next day I was on the street working in the middle of the mud, rescuing things, and it was an amazing experience.
One that not only transformed his work at the time, but ignited a desire to travel. Eventually, he found his way to California.
In a nutshell, I arrived in California and I never went back to Florence. On a painting trip that lasted 35 years.
Those years were especially productive and successful. He was the subject of a documentary and even a book.
Look, this is me at that time. I used to paint with the palette in my hand.
Right.
Here is Tina Turner in a show in Beverly Hills.
Wow.
Home on the Streets is the first one-man show depicting the personal tragedy of homelessness.
In San Francisco, he spent years sketching and painting the homeless.
I hope that my show will provide more awareness for this issue. And I couldn't believe it. I started painting dark pictures. I reconnected with the flood. The dark colors of the flood came back. You know, life, especially with painting, is an association. It's a link.
In 1994, he was honored for his work and social contributions with a proclamation day. In 2005, he relocated to Toronto with his new wife and was inspired by the cityscape.
I like the urban landscapes, the streets, the freeways that end up in the middle of the city. I like that, with all this converging line.
Right.
And I start painting and I start sketching.
His latest exhibit, Marco Sassone, His Boots and Other Works, recently opened at the Bata Shoe Museum. An expressionistic walk inspired by a pair of boots he bought in the 60s in London.
Through the year, these boots, because I wanted to keep wearing the boots, I cut a little bit the heels, like
Right.
an inch or more.
So you got a little shorter.
So I got shorter, and I cut this, and I wore them up to 1975.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Are they
Yeah.
crocodile?
And
What
they-
are
snakeskin. Snakeskin boots. Yeah, yeah.
Two of the 9 new oils feature the boots. There are also sandals and even runway models, all from a unique perspective.
In my case, I had to address the shoes. So some of this model have even their head cut off because the focus was the shoes, the movement of the high heels on the runway.
Sassone's artistic journey has taken him around the globe. For now, he's focused on Toronto, and after more than 50 solo exhibits in some of the most prestigious galleries and museums in the world, his perspective has come full circle.
It's 50 years of painting, and now you realize, and I realize that to do one thing, it takes a lifetime.
And the exhibit wraps up here at the Bata Shoe Museum on September 5th. Debbie Lytle-Kwan, CBC News, Toronto.
A group of Toronto students